Can you pass the acting test? The brutal reality that most people won't face. Here's the reality. The reality is, acting isn't glamorous. It's not about fame, it's not about flashy lights or even being discovered, right? The truth is, most people who set out to become actors are likely and very likely to fail. Here's the first thing you need to know. You're going to face rejection. And not just once, not twice. This is going to be part of your life. It doesn't matter how big you get, you're always facing rejection. You'll hear more of a no than more of a yes, at least for some time, for weeks, months, and sometimes for years. If you think it's all about auditions and landing the roles, you've got to wake up, because a lot of it has to do with developing a thick skin. I know it's hard to hear this, but I'm trying to save you years of frustration. If you think this is going to be easy, it's not. Yes, there are people who suddenly and magically play the lotto and win. And it can be the same with acting. All of a sudden everything falls into place and you're successful. But the reality is that those are truly exceptions in the business. Most actors have to work hard at their craft, have to work very hard to be able to land an agent. Once they land an agent, to be able to get auditions. Then when they audition, they get their callbacks. And when they get their callbacks, perhaps they get to the final stage where they're either selected or rejected. It's a long process, and this is all part of the business that you won't hear. And the question is, are you prepared for that? And most people aren't. But if you're listening, then you've overcome the one obstacle that many actors cannot overcome, which is rejection. A lot of the business is really you being alone. It's a long journey and a lonely one, because there will be people around you who will not understand. You're going to spend hours, sometimes days, working alone on a part. You're rehearsing, you're perfecting the role. You're also dealing with doubts. The phone doesn't ring, or that email doesn't come in. Maybe you get the rejection. It's just not pretty. But if you stick with it long enough, then you'll have the satisfaction when you get a yes of feeling validated. It requires a lot of self-discipline. Now, as I said, and this is again the thing that no one talks about, and I will ramble through this, because if you can't even get through this, then how are you going to get through a career in acting? Acting is demanding, and there are sacrifices that you have to make. It will cost you friends, family. You'll miss out on family, on friends, on birthdays. You'll probably end up putting off vacations because there's an important audition coming up. You're going to struggle paying bills. You're going to have side gigs. And you're going to have to juggle those side gigs with when an audition comes comes for you to be able to do that audition. And are you ready for that? I mean, are you ready to give up a 9-to-5 job or the stability of what your friends or your family might be thinking, that you're not living quote unquote a normal life? Most people will give up when it starts to get tough. But if you're still listening, then there's still hope, because obviously there is a commitment in you that you feel you have to give it what it takes. And the question is, do you have what it takes? Which is, do you have grit to keep going? Because acting will continually challenge you. It will throw you curveballs that you weren't expecting. And if you're still listening, you're ahead of the competition, because the competition is going to fall the minute things get tough. Because let's face it, rejection comes with the business, loneliness, sacrifice, all while developing a thick skin and you still having to remain vulnerable. But most people quit by now, but you're still here. And the thing that you have to remember is that you have to keep pushing, that you have to keep showing up. You got to put everything on the line for your dream. And if you can do that, then you're one of the few. One of the few that can cut it out for this business. Because the road doesn't get easier, it gets tougher. So let's see. Rejection, loneliness, vulnerability. So how many rejections before you make it? There will be more rejections than yeses. There'll be moments in which you'll feel that the world is telling you to stop. Your family, your friends, everyone around you. It's like running a marathon for the first time. You will hit a wall at some point, and then everything in you will tell you it's time for you to quit. But if you pursue it and you continue, then you'll be one of the very, very few, and your chances improve. So, let's talk a little bit about acting. Because here's the thing most people never tell you. Acting is about vulnerability. Yes, you're going to have to learn lines, you're going to have to follow directions. Then you're going to have to look quote unquote good in front of a camera. But the reality is that acting is exposing the soul, specifically your soul. You're exposing your soul, your vulnerability to the world out there. You're going to have to show parts of yourself that are not pretty, maybe painful. It's not comfortable. And if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I can do that. I know it. I get it. It is scary. But if you're serious about it, if you're serious, truly serious about it, you have to ask yourself, are you ready to give all of yourself? Not just the good, but also the bad. the joy, the triumph, the deep, the messy, the uncomfortable emotions that really come when you're truly acting. Just look at your favorite actors on films. Look at the films that move you, that touch you. Right? This is what you're going into. And if you're still listening, then that's a good sign. Because I think you can handle it. Because it takes bravery. You know, it's one thing to memorize lines. One thing to memorize lines. Another one is to feel them. To let the audience feel them. Most people, and by that I mean actors, can't go that deep. But if you can, you've got a weapon that will set you apart from everybody else. Let's talk a little bit more about this lonely journey, because you spent hours, days, working alone, rehearsing, perfecting the lines. All the while, you're also fighting yourself because you begin to doubt yourself. Especially when you get to that point, when you go out and you audition and you think you did a great job and the phone doesn't ring. For a while. Nobody's out there watching and paying attention while you're working late, breaking down a scene, crying because you didn't get a part you worked so hard for. The thing is, if you can keep going, even when it feels like you are non-existent to the casting directors and to all the projects that you audition for, when it feels like, again, you don't exist, you're invisible, no one acknowledges it, your talent. Because it requires self-discipline. This isn't about talent, it's about the grit, right? It's about keep working even when no one's watching, by taking classes, by rehearsing, by staying with it, even when things aren't moving quick enough. When things are not moving as fast as you had hoped they would be moving. And this is where, okay, there's the kicker. This is where people will drop out. But if you keep going, you're not just an actor, you're a fighter. Because you've committed to your craft no matter what. If you're still listening, you've passed this test. Because it's a test of endurance. And if you think listening to me is it's something, then you really don't know what you're getting into. Because most people can't handle being isolated like that. Because you are in the long haul. You're in it, okay? Here are the good things about it. You'll meet a lot of interesting people along the way. Yes, when you're alone, you're working on it, but it isn't totally a solo journey, even though it will feel like that. You'll meet the most brilliant, most creative people. No other field will offer you this, because these people will push this, they push with the same passion that you have, and you'll form long relationships. Because they too have to fight to be where they are. They've faced rejection. They've had their moments when they thought it was all over. Okay? And if they had quit, which they didn't, they wouldn't be where they are. Now, you have to remember that sacrifice is very important because acting is very demanding and it will cost you. Because you have to pay those bills and still be available to audition. And it's not cheap. Normally, you can't have what a quote unquote normal life. You can't have a 9 to 5. There's no way. Okay? Now, remember, you have stiff competition, right? And it's like the marathon. You have to keep at it because a lot of people will eventually give up. And if you're still at it, you have a chance. Just keep that in mind because you have to be resilient, okay? The industry is not about talent. Every rejection, every no you hear is getting you closer to that yes. Every successful actor, director, artist has faced exactly what you're facing right now. The difference between them and the ones who quit is that they didn't stop. They didn't give up, even when the going got tough. If you're still here listening, I'm telling you, you got what it takes. The question is, how far can you go? Now, I've covered rejection, loneliness. Let's talk a little bit about vulnerability. Acting is truly about vulnerability. It's not just about learning your lines, right? Or following directions, which are all valid. It's not being fit and looking great, getting the hair. Okay, those things, depending on your type, are important, but it doesn't stop there. Okay? You have to be able to become vulnerable and expose yourself. And that takes time. Okay? And that's something that you're always working on. Always. You're always working on your weaknesses because you're always having to deal with the competition. There's always somebody out there who's better than you. That's the reality. If you keep that in mind, you'll be ahead. You always have to remember that this is a business and it doesn't really care about how talented you are. Talent is a dime a dozen, but you have to be prepared because you don't know when you're going to get the call and you have to be ready. Okay? Because when you think about it, the business doesn't care how much you want it. It doesn't care how many acting classes you took, how many compliments the people around gave you after you did a show, it does not care. You're as good as your last piece. It's very, very brutal. I say this because I don't want to discourage you, but I just want you to know what it is you're getting into. It will challenge who you are. It will challenge your confidence. It will challenge your financial stability. It will challenge your relationships. And it will challenge your sanity. Most people quit before they ever get close. In fact, if you stop watching this or listening to me, you've already failed the first test. Listen, rejection isn't a bump, right, on the road. It's the road. This is it. Rejection. It's part of acting. It's always going to be there. Imagine you working your tail off and you give the most incredible audition, and guess what? You don't get the part. And you know what? You may not even get feedback, not a word about it. And you were certain that you nailed it. You know how many times you may be rejected? You think you'll be rejected 20 times and then you get your break? 30, 40, 50? There are exceptions to everything. But most actors will sometimes get rejected 200, 300, 400 times before they get a break. Or before they get their first yes. Some never even get that. And you know what? That doesn't mean that you're not good. All it means is that you're in the game. Because you've braved it out. You're still here. And that's an accomplishment. Because you're passing that quote-unquote rejection test. You're not letting anybody knock you down. When they knock you down, you get right back up. Find actors that you like. Look at the films that you like. And tell me that if it's not because they're vulnerable, they're exposing themselves, that grips you. When you're acting, you can't be pretending. And on the contrary, it's the opposite. It's telling the truth in a world that's full of masks, that is false, because it's all make-believe. But you're telling the truth in that world. You'll find yourself crying in front of total strangers, or being angry without holding back, or loving without fear of being judged. You're going to take parts of yourself from dark corners you didn't even know existed, and you do it again and again and again and again and again. Can you be that open, that honest, that brave? If you can, then you're not just acting, you're transforming yourself. That's vulnerability. Again, here's a business that no one they don't talk about it enough. Acting can be very lonely because you're going to have to miss out on parties. Don't get me wrong. Yes, there are times that you have to network and what have you. But your friends are not out and about rehearsing. You have to rehearse. You may have to be working weekends. You may have to cram the whole night to feel like you're ready. You're going to be in a room full of other auditions. When you go to an audition, you may find yourself in an audition situation in which there are others around you. And you begin to doubt yourself. And you begin to wonder if it's worth it. Here's the thing that people don't talk enough about. One of the most important things that happen to you as an actor, where you're growing, happens when you're alone. When you're alone, thinking about the work, working on your script with your own thoughts. Let's talk about social media, because social media can really mess you up. You're looking at other actors, things you're looking at, and they're posting about their bookings, the red carpets, the new rap. But the reality is, they may be just as lonely as you. And the mistake you'll do is you'll start comparing yourself to them. And you'll do what? You'll doubt. You'll think that you're behind. Remember, this is not the whole story. You're getting highlights of moments here and there. You're not getting the full picture of all the struggles that they've gone through to get to this point. Because most people, most actors struggle silently. If you focus on your craft and not on your social feed, you'll be fine. Because you'll have to have strong mental discipline. Okay? So don't look at other people. Don't compare yourself to other people. Stay away from social media. It's a distraction that takes you away from your game. Now let's talk about the financial situation. Okay, let's talk money. You know, acting isn't cheap. Classes, not cheap. If you decide to, for whatever reason, move into a big city, there are a lot of expenses there, right? Then let's not forget headshots, right? Getting a demo reel, traveling to auditions. If you're in the union, you have union dues. All this adds up. And guess what? When you first start out, the beginning, the stuff that you do get, it may not even pay you at all. And if it does, it pays you very little. You'll have to probably juggle 2 or 3 jobs just to stay afloat. And you begin to wonder, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can sustain this and for how long. But if you can get creative, if you can stay disciplined, and you can treat this like a business, which is what it is, then you'll pass the financial test. Because you're not just a dreamer, you're also building a career. Now, the waiting game. The waiting game. You're going to audition and then wait. Sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. And most of the time, you won't get a response. No call, no feedback, 0. And the silence will mess with your mind. It will. And you just can't allow yourself to be messed with. Because you're going to replay that audition. Oh my God. You're running through your head. I mean, like hundreds, if not thousands of times. If you can learn to live with the waiting without losing momentum, you've passed one of the hardest tests that this business will throw at you. Let's talk about the imposter syndrome. When you don't feel that you are, quote unquote, good enough. Okay, so you book a role. And you know what? You still think, why me? Why did they pick me? You sit in a casting office with 10 actors who look more, quote unquote, in your eyes, more right for the part than you. And now you begin to doubt your training, your talent, and yourself. Wow. Okay? And you're not the only one. Even the greats have felt this. And they've spoken about it. But you know what? They still show up anyway. If you can feel like a fraud and still walk, whether it's a stage or a film, wow, that's brave. And actors have to do this all the time. Okay, so let's talk about the mental and physical exhaustion. Long days, early calls, 14-hour shoots, travel, sleepless nights, preparing for an audition, doing cold reads, which is something else. Acting takes a toll on you. Acting requires and needs everything from you, both emotionally, mentally, physically, which means you have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you will burn out. So make sure to hydrate yourself, rest, move, try to have some peace in your life. This is in order for you to survive. Just to survive. Okay? So you gotta stay healthy while you hustle. Okay, let's talk about it. Community and relationships, because that's very important. Acting can be lonely, yes, but you're not meant to do this alone. You need to find your people, right? You need to collaborate. You need to support each other, lift each other up. And when you're working, you have to respect the crew, be kind to casting people, show up early, work hard, say thank you. Because your reputation is your resume. Relationships open doors talent alone cannot. Right? If you can build community, right, not competition, you've passed the collaboration test. And remember, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, it's a brutal business, highly competitive. If you don't want to work, don't worry. There's someone else who's working harder. If you work hard, they're working twice as hard. Competition is brutal. But remember that you're not competing with that person. You're competing with yourself, with all the doubts, etc., that I've just mentioned. Now, I'm too old. You got to get that out of your head. There are many careers that have started late, Morgan Freeman being one of them, who struggled for many years before he became a household name. Did he quit? No. Did he try to rush the process? No. He stayed with it, trusted that eventually it would happen, and it did. And when the moment came, guess what? He was ready. Now your break may not look like, a huge Hollywood blockbuster. It might be one line in some student film or in a short film or in some independent film. But it can lead you to a director that eventually may hire you for a bigger thing. Or that director talks to you to someone else who hires you. Remember, be prepared when the opportunity knocks. Remember, it's about playing the long game. Now, here's another thing that's very important that you have to, in order to survive this business, is you have to fall in love with the work. Because it's not about applause. Because that could take some time. You become an actor, okay? Because there's nothing else you want to do. You can't imagine yourself doing something else. It's brutal, but it's true. It becomes part of you. You fall in love with the process, with the rehearsal, the script work, the late nights of discovery, rehearsing with your partner. You fall in love with the good and the bad. right? Because it's not just about chasing for the result, right? Or the role, the fame, the spotlight. If that's what you're doing, you're going to burn out. If you can fall in love with becoming the character, if you can fall in love with growing in this business, if you can fall in love with everything that comes with it, you really passed the most important test. If you're still here, I've basically thrown a bunch of challenges your way and you didn't quit. I guess that kind of puts you ahead of 90% of the other people who quit. Acting, as I just mentioned before, is not a sprint. It's really, I call it a marathon, but it's probably not even that, because it's like a never-ending climb. But the view, the people you meet at every stage, the discovery of the things that you didn't know about yourself is all worth it. And if you made it this far, if you've got something that no class, no coach, no casting director, no director, no producer can give you, and that is heart. The heart to keep going, the grit to keep going. So, my challenge to you is, what are you going to do next? I'd say, let's find out. Thank you for listening. Make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment if you feel like it, subscribe. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.